The description on this dispatch was that the home inspector said that the compressor would not run. Now, I know that those of you in the industry know that inspectors is just a fancy name for a guy that doesn't know what he's doing, trying to tell you how to do it. But the system is on a zone, and so you've got natural delays that would keep that condenser from coming on. But we're going to see if we can dig in and find out what's going on. Confirm that the disconnect is on or in the on position. I'm going to pop the doors and confirm that we do have power, and see if we can try to figure out what's going on. At this point, I'm just trying to do a visual overview of the condition of the system. It is brand new. New construction house, getting ready to sell. And there's a part right there on the bottom left of that service panel where you see a bunch of wires. The local code requires that you have an outdoor thermostat installed. And even though you're supposed to have it, they've actually told us that you don't actually have to wire it. You just have to have your little copper sensor poked out of the cabinet so that they can see it. They don't actually care if it's connected, which is total crap. But, you know, if an inspector tells you to do something, you better do it, whether or not you know it's right, because that's the only way you're going to pass it. If he says you're wrong and you know you're right, you're still wrong. If he says you're right and you know you're wrong, you're still right. So that's how it is. Interestingly enough, even though I know it's a brand new unit, I automatically went to check capacitors because even though it's new, you still never know whether those capacitors are actually any good from the factory. So, force of habit, I went through the steps of checking the capacitors, make sure that we've actually got proper capacitance on the new system.
That's nice. We got no lights.
You probably can't tell real well, but the letters on the bypass damper are upside down, which is kind of a preview of part of my problem out here. But the zone damper did not seem to be working. I figured I'd fire it up with the dampers as they were before I did anything. On my way outside, I noticed that the second floor thermostat was blank, so back into the attic to figure out why I dropped my thermostat. It looks like we just had a poor connection on the wiring to that second thermostat, the power wire.
Okay, so loose wire dropped this thermostat. Not too big of a deal. Let's go see what's going on outside now that we've got it running.
Since it is a brand new system and new construction installation issues, I wanted to make sure that my service valves were actually open, as obviously that could cause issues with the system trying to run. Getting my gauges hooked up, and looks like standing pressures mean that we've got no issue in regards to charge, hopefully, but we'll see.
So we got system trying to run inside, but for some reason I'm not getting the contactor to pull in outside. So let's see if we can find a answer. Okay, so we've got a whole 6.3 volts AC at the condenser here. Common is black. Power is a pinky red. Yellow is yellow. Purple is your defrost. Now it's running. Okay. And we got 27 volts now. So I'm guessing that was a startup delay maybe. We immediately switched into, I hope that's not defrost.
Without hoping to sound stupid, it appears that this system actually does not fully flip the reversing valve until after the system has begun to run. So, seems to be a logical explanation as to why we switched after we'd started up.
Okay. Did we hit our load or what? Interesting. Interesting. Okay. It is a little warm to be running my heat pump, so I'm going to switch to cooling and see what happens there.
Whatever is going on, it seems to have caused my thermostats or my system to drop power. I've got no call for heat or cool or fan or anything. And the thermostats were actually on a permanent hold so that they wouldn't change temperature on their own. They're still calling for performance.
What is my brown and black doing? I'll bet you that's transformer. Yeah. They don't have a secondary transformer on it. And I'm running in heat. Interesting. I need to check the programming on those thermostats. Looks like we may have an issue there. I shouldn't be running in heat. I think they've got their bypass upside down. So wire it closed and see how my pressures change.
After figuring out what the issue was, I had to fix the bypass, and when I cut it open in the flex duct, this is what I found. And if you know anything about bypass dampers, they cannot be upside down like that.
So before I wired open the bypass, or wired it closed, I had 0 superheat, or maybe 2. It is coming up now we're going to let it run for a bit and see how it levels out. It doesn't even show up on the manufacturer's pressure cross-reference for ambient temperature. Of course, there is very little or no load at 60 degrees indoor temperature, but we'll let it run, see what happens. Alright, so I've got the superheat down to a reasonable level. Subcooling seems a little low, but since we've got a mix match of temperatures outside to inside, I'm not exactly willing to say that there's actually anything wrong with the charge. The pressures are actually pretty close to what the manufacturer says that I should have, so I'm not going to say that that's the issue. Alright, so the zone board says that we've got heat running. My temperature split is phenomenal, so I doubt that that's actually the case. We got 28 volts. I don't know if you can see that, but 28 volts between red and common. 0 between common and auxiliary. 28 between common and yellow, 28 between common and green, and Ameristar Systems energized reversing valve in heat. We've got 28 between common and orange. Interesting. That's on the equipment side. We're going to come over here to the thermostat side. Go common and red, 28. Common and auxiliary, 0. Common and yellow, 28. Common and green, 28. Common and orange, 0. So our board is outputting a signal on the B terminal when it should not. Let me see if we can just make a switch here, see what happens. If I switch from B to O on the equipment side, let me do this first. 28, 0, 28, 28, and 0. Gonna switch B to O. That should not change what the board says, but it may switch me up here. Common and orange, 6.7 volts. Common and B, 28. Excuse my language, I'll have to cut that out. I'd say the board is screwed up.
Rather than chase our tails around junky Honeywell boards, we've decided to switch to EcoJ boards. They are actually the only zone board that I'm aware of that is by code allowed to not have an outdoor sensor because of the way that they control auxiliary heat through the discharge air sensor. They don't require an outdoor sensor. They actually do a much better job than the systems with an outdoor sensor because they only bring on the auxiliary heat when the discharge air is less than 90 degrees. That can be adjusted up to 94, but They do not bring on auxiliary until discharge air is less than 90 to 94 degrees, depending on where you set it. So switched out the Honeywell board for an EcoJ board, changed the discharge air sensor to the sensor that comes with the EcoJ, and we're all finished. Everything will be working after this. Got the bypass damper turned over and adjusted to open as needed when the larger of the two zones closes. We're all wired up, got all the pretty Christmas lights on, and our discharge air is 54 degrees. Thanks for watching, guys. I know this is a longer one. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.